Hey scholars, Walter Bowne here, talking about the different types of parallel structure that you can use with your writing. A lot of these definitions and examples come from Virtual Salt, a handbook of rhetorical devices, which is a pretty good reference. There's so many good references online. This is one I use among others, but let's get started. All right, so different types of parallel construction. Okay, so there are many different types of parallel construction, right? A good reference, of course, is this virtual salt. Parallelism, by definition, is a recurrent syntaxical similarity. All right, there's syntax in the similar word choice and order. Several parts of a sentence or sentences are expressed in a similar fashion to show ideas or parts that are equal importance. It also adds balance and rhythm and clarity to the sentence. Any sentence elements can be paralleled any number of times. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. Sometimes I hate you. Sometimes I love you. They're all parallel, right? You might choose a parallel subject with parallel modifiers attached to them, like this: ferocious dragons breathing fire and wicked sorcerers casting spells do their harm by night in the forest of darkness. So ferocious and wicked, dragons and sorcerers, breathing and casting, fire and spells, they're all parallel. All right, I have 12 or 13, I think, and with the pronunciations, because these come from the ancient Greek, um, they're tough to pronounce in English. All right, so we have anaphora. All right, anaphora repeats the same word or groups of words at the beginning of sentences or clauses. So when Winston Churchill famously declares in the House of Commons, "We will fight them on the beaches, we will fight them in the cities," he's repeating, "We will fight." It's for emphasis. All right, we see this in Henry V, Mark Antony Lincoln, Martin Luther King. I have a dream, I have a dream. Anaphora is very effective. All right, let's go to number 2. Antimetabole. All right, antimetabole is the reversing of order of repeated words or phrases. It follows an A-B-B-A structure, right? So just attach a word to A and a word to B and then just change it. Like, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. Or all work and no play is as harmful to mental health as all play and no work, right? So this is very effective, and it's one of the reasons why these statements stay popular is because they're memorable, and it has a rhythm to it, and we remember it. All right, guys, let's go to epistrophe. Epistrophe is like anaphora, just at the end. Like when Lincoln says in the Gettysburg Address in 1865, "We here highly resolve that government of the people, by the people, for the people shall not perish from the earth." Right? So he's putting the emphasis of people, right? And it's all coordinated parallel structure of, by, for, the people, the people, the people. Right? There are other examples there. There is reason subdued, honesty is subdued, goodwill is subdued, all night he did nothing but weep, Felicia, sigh, blah, 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 from Sir Philip Sidney, right? So that's epistrophe. Again, these are all ways that you can structure your language so you can write like Churchill, Martin Luther King, Cicero, Shakespeare. I mean, this all comes from the ancient Greek, and it all works pretty well. All right, Antithesis. Antithesis repeats the last word of one phrase and repeats it at the very next clause. So our doubt is our passion, and our passion is our task, right? Another example is pleasure might cause her to read, okay, and repeat that right afterwards. Reading might make her know, okay, repeat know in some form. Knowledge might pity win, and pity gain obtain. You can see it's very highly sophisticated, right? Maybe causing too much attention to itself. But again, when you craft a sentence like this, and you're doing this in a variety of different ways, you're in command now of the language, and someone reading it says, wow, this person is sophisticated, not just scattering words on a page. All right, let's take a look at a famous one. You might have studied this as a sophomore, Julius Caesar, with Mark Antony giving his very famous eulogy. All right, you can see here already, I've come to bury Caesar, not praise him. All right, antithesis, evil, good, that's antithesis. So let it be with Caesar. You have told Caesar. Okay, that sounds very familiar, right? It was a grievous fault, and grievously did Caesar answer for it. Okay, so what you're doing there is right here. All right, Caesar, and very good Caesar. So you repeat it again, right? Honorable men, we have epistrophe going on here. We have the repetition of Brutus, but Brutus says he was ambitious, and Brutus says he was an honorable man. This is all very complicated, beautiful parallel structure. And again, it's effective because Mark Antony is able to turn the tide using, verbal irony and all these different devices. We can continue with the speech, and that's what makes it so marvelously composed, right, and so effective. All right, let's go to one of the most famous ones, is antithesis. All right, antithesis is used quite frequently. It establishes a clear contrasting relationship, like it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. I don't know whether to love you or hate you, kind of thing. We're systemizers and categorizers, so the mind has a natural love for antithesis, which creates a definite systematic relationship, morning and night, sun and moon. To err is human, to divine forgive. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind, right? Or from Ecclesiastes, it was a time of man, a time of peace. What was that? That should be a time of war, a time of peace. So the bird song, to everything turn, 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 right? Chiasmus might be recalled reverse parallelism, because the second part of the construction is balanced or parallel by the first part, like this. It is boring to eat, to sleep is fulfilling, all right? Or he labors without complaining, and without bragging rests. Under normal parallel instances, it would be he labors without complaining and brags without resting. So resting and complaining, labors and brags are parallel, but you switch it up by having some sort of like ABBA form again. All right, again, a lot of these overlap with each other. The idea is that you can master the language by manipulating and moving the words in different order to create structure. Okay, guys, let's go to conduplicatio. Conduplicatio, we see the word duplicate in there. And what you're doing is just emphasizing the word. It's not just any word, like we will. It's like duty has moved him, duty should be, or the strength of passions, and she fed the goldfish, gradually the goldfish. I have a dream. It is deeply rooted in the American dream. It is a dream. So the idea of this is that you have a nail, and you're just pounding that one important nail over and over and over again for emphasis. Again, you're doing this strategically. This isn't a mistake. Don't do this with words that do not matter. You have to do a word that matters, like duty, like passion, like dream. And that's why it's called I Have a Dream speech. All right. Diacope is the repetition of a word or phrase after an intervening word as a method of emphasis. We will do it. I will tell you. We will do it, right? We give thanks to thee, O God. We give thanks. If you read the Bible and you're following along, it says, oh my God, the disciples studied ancient Greek. They knew what they were doing, and that's why it's such beautiful language. All right, so in times like these, it helps to recall that there have always been times like these. Right, so that is an effective example of diacope. Let's take a look at enthymeme. So enthymeme is a version of a syllogism. A syllogism is A equals B, B equals C, therefore A equals C. So if you could get someone to agree, this is a logical formation, is an informally stated syllogism. So Walter is a man, all men are human, therefore Walter is human, right? So if you can get someone to agree with A and B and C, the conclusion is A and C. And sometimes you can work these out as a trap and make it really work. So example, pugs are mammals because they're dogs. The unstated premise, the middle part, is all dogs are mammals, right? So an enthymeme is a way you can form a logical argument, right? And it's also parallel. We'll work more on that later, all right? Epinucleasis, 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 all right? These are tough, guys. These are really tough. Repeats the beginning of a word or clause or sentence at the end. All right, so mankind must put an end to war, or war will put an end to mankind. You see, mankind's at the beginning, mankind's at the end. Water alone dug this giant canyon. Yes, just plain water. All right, so if you want to emphasize the word like mankind, and you wanted to use it again at the end of the sentence, perfect parallel structure. And again, people remember these slogans or these sayings because of the devices these great writers and speakers have been taught. And we need to bring it back. Epesius is just the repetition of a word for emphasis. Like when Polonius says, Hamlet, what are you reading? And Hamlet says, words, words, words. Or Winston Churchill very famously says, never give in, never, 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 right? So it's just repeating a word numerous times. All I can say about the class is boring, boring, boring. You're using Epesius, right? And hopefully you're not finding this boring, boring, boring. But if you are, that's okay too. All right, okay. Thesis onomaton, right? It emphasizes an idea by expressing in a string of generally synonymous phrases. Like if you were to say, she stinks, she smells, she's rotten, you're saying the same sort of thing over and over and over and over again. You can do this with comedy. I know Monty Python, this is an ex-parrot, it's deceased, it is going to meet its maker, and he just uses more adjectives, piling it on. All right, like here from Isaiah 1:4. A sinful nation, a people laden with iniquity, a seed of evildoers, children. There are four things there, but you just keep emphasizing it. A different synonym, a different metaphor, but all the same idea. Okay, just like you hear from Macbeth. Okay, cabin, crib, confined. These are all just repeated, right, in the same kind of idea, right? Simplest is combining anaphora and epistrophe. So when there is talk of hatred, when there is talk, that's the anaphora, let us stand up and talk against it, let us stand up and talk against it. So the only thing that changes here is hatred and violence, right? So this is combining both anaphora and epistrophe. Zugba, and this is from Rihanna, all right? You took my heart and my keys and my patience. So here's the verb, right? So if you just want to omit the verb on the other places, you'd be using zugma. Like pride oppresses humility, hatred, love. Okay, we assume that it oppresses. Cruelty, passion. Fred excelled at sports. Harvey at eating, Tom with girls. We don't need to know. You could put excelled here or another verb, but if using zugma, he took my heart, he took my keys, he took my patience, well, it's kind of assumed that this person took things, all right? So hopefully, scholars, this has helped you learn the various rhetorical devices when it comes to parallel structure. Use it in your writing. Don't overuse it. Don't be obnoxious. But when you use it well, and you might find people saying, wow, that was a really great speech, or wow, that was really carefully crafted. All right, so you can become a Lincoln, you become a Shakespeare, you know, and it's just practice. All right, thank you very much. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.